to study IELTS.
Hello and welcome to IELTS Face-Off. I'm in such a good mood today because I'm currently on the 5th floor of Vietnam Television building. This place has so many memories that are very close to my heart. The very first time I hosted the IELTS Face-Off show, meeting a lot of musketeers like thầy Tùng, thầy Đặng.
So the things we put in our vocabulary.
And 5 years passes by. I'm now here, not a 17-year-old girl anymore, but you're a 22-year-old host. And I'm bringing you a lot of amazing guests. It's so great to see people come and stay with the show. And today we're going to meet two musketeers who are very amazingly talented in IELTS and in English. And let's find out who they are.
Hello everybody, my name is Đặng and I am your new musketeer of the IFO family. If I had to describe myself with 3 adjectives, the first one would have to be energetic. The second adjective to describe me would be nerdy. I'm also quite playful person. Currently, I am a teacher, an IELTS teacher to be exact. And besides from that, I also do some freelance work. I have participated in the IELTS test 2 times. The first time I scored 8.0. The second time, I scored an 8.5 overall band score.
Hi guys, I'm Bảo. I am actually one of the newest additional members in the Lions of Musketeers of IFO. I have been an IELTS coach for at least 5 years, and what I can tell you about myself is that I really like to challenge the boxes that people put or the labels that people have for people. What I meant to say is that a lot of people have been telling me that I don't really look like a teacher, but being a teacher has been something that is a part of my identity and I'm really passionate about it, especially when it comes to IELTS because English is one of my biggest passions.
Impressively fantastic profiles, and here we are with our guest, chị Bảo Vân and anh Hoàng Đức. Hello. Familiar faces of IELTS Face-Off courses, and you guys might call them cô Vân, thầy Đức. But yeah, anyway, they are our guests today, successful IELTS teacher and successful IELTS achievers. So how long have you guys been teaching IELTS?
Ladies first, I guess.
I think around 4 or 5 years. I think so, because I don't really keep track. So I think that's an appropriate number of time, I think.
4 or 5 years, half a decade.
That's quite a coincidence because I've been teaching for like around 4 to 5 years as well.
You started very young then, because you're certainly younger than me.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Very nice energy from the beginning. So you are obviously very passionate about languages and especially English. So how do you all turn your passion into a career path?
I think it's more like a coincidence. I think it's some sort of fate, because, well, first of all, this is something I think I should disclose. I actually am dyslexic. I have dyslexia, which is, I don't think a lot of people in Vietnamese believe, a lot of Vietnamese people believe it exists, because when I was younger, where I couldn't really read. And it's really difficult for me to actually remember alphabets or just any letters. So everybody actually believed that I was a little bit dumb. Yeah, so I just started to learn more and more to prove to people that, hey, I also have a brain. I'm not really like just a pretty doll for you to play with. And when I actually went overseas and I did get myself checked and I was officially announced to have dyslexia. So I think it's mostly the journey of me attaining this score in IELTS and becoming a teacher is just like my journey of fighting the condition that I have. Because I also studied literature, which is something that nobody even believes that someone with dyslexia would do. But yeah, I did that. So I think it's mostly serendipitous kind of like turning point in life that I did that, because I used to be in art and fashion.
Wow, that's very inspiring. This is the first time I know something about you, even though I've known you for a while.
Yeah, it's something I don't really talk about. Yeah.
So I think that every teacher has different teaching styles. So what is your teaching philosophy, like something, mission statement of a teacher?
I think I start with you because you actually, I think, have a much more defined purpose when it comes to teaching compared to me.
I wouldn't say that. This is probably the first time that I've met Miss Van here. So
yeah, even though we're like on the same course.
Yeah, we're on the same course.
Matching vibe.
So my teaching philosophy starts at the learners. So I don't believe that anyone is incapable of learning English and languages in general. I think that everybody has a different approach to their learning styles, and we just need to find the correct way to study, because some people are more comfortable with physical action, so they would take in new knowledge with activities regarding physical activities. But some people like to read more, and they are more like readers, not listeners. So you just need to find your appropriate learning method, and then you would be able to do anything, I guess.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I like him a lot. Sometimes, I mean, when I hear him speak, sometimes I kind of wish in my head that maybe when I started studying, I would have a teacher like him. So I wouldn't feel so, like, a little bit lonely because everybody was better than I was. Yeah, my teaching philosophy is a little bit simple though. You guys are familiar with the phrase "down the rabbit hole," right? Yeah. So I think so. Alice in Wonderland was the first thing that I ever read in my life, and my father told me to do it. And I was so mesmerized by that book that I researched extensively on the writer of that book. So I found out that Lewis Carroll was actually also a mathematician. Yes. So afterwards, I realized that everything, when it comes to knowledge, is interconnected. And my job is to make the students realize that everything is interconnected. And in there, down the rabbit hole, which means that you started your let's say, learning point at something, and you ended up with a different thing, but that different thing became something so much more passionate and might even make you feel more, I don't know, passionate, more affectionate towards the thing that you are trying to research or trying to identify, trying to, I don't know, just search for.
So what are some of the expectations about the IELTS teachers that you have found differed from the reality in both good way or bad way?
So basically, the expectations here are from the student's perspective.
Yeah,
and also from the IELTS teachers as well.
So from the teachers, I think there is a disparity because students now, they put much of an emphasis on their teachers. So they treat IELTS as a degree more than like English in general and knowledge in general. So one thing that I usually tell my student is that the moment you think that IELTS is a subject, that is the moment that you stop yourself from obtaining a higher band score.
Right. I actually agree with that because the majority of the students who came to me or were in my class often believe that once they've attained a high IELTS band score, they would literally become successful in life, which I do not agree because for me, IELTS is not a comprehensive test. It doesn't really, I'm sorry, but it doesn't really mean that much. It's just something that would help you be a stepping stone for you to eventually attain what you want. Eventually, it's still language that you should acquire, not just a high score and then you're done. And honestly, I do think that IELTS is very crooked, as in it's only focused on some specific aspects. And what is a little bit what seems a little bit bleak for me is that students often tend to just focus on IELTS and forget about the fact that they do have to perceive it as just a part of English, and they should really keep on learning.
It should be a tool. It should be a
tool.
tool.
Yes, it should only be a tool. Yes,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I think that is so true when you have to know that language is not an art to be mastered, but it's something that you can use as a tool to get results in life. And IELTS is just a part of the English language in general. So we will keep, we will continue the talk with more English tips and IELTS tips. Stay tuned.
Now it's time to study IELTS.
Welcome back to the show, and here we are with a section about IELTS and English in general, and we have all the successful, talented, brilliant teachers here who is going to answer almost all of your questions about IELTS. So a very common question that a lot of people ask is that how long does it take me to achieve a certain band score in IELTS for let's say 6.5 or have a good command of English?
Forever.
Forever.
Those are very two different things, like 6.5 and good command of English.
Yes.
I think it depends on the starting point, where you are at when you begin your journey. For people who basically have lost it, they possess nothing whatsoever, then it might take quite a while. I think a decent amount would be
2 years?
It depends on the intensity of how much they study as well. I have students who've literally achieved their desired band score in less than 6 months, but they study it every day, spend at least 2 hours every day to study about it. And yeah, so I think it really depends on the frequency, the intensity, your starting point, and your basically patience and passion.
I think that too. Repetition is the mother of all learning. So another question would be, is it possible to self-study IELTS for the beginners?
Yes, if you have the appropriate approach. Like for example, there are some aspects that requires review from other people, like speaking and writing, in which you would need a group. But it does not mean that you cannot self-improve your English at your house, because you can improve your English in terms of different aspects. For example, vocabulary, speaking skill in terms of grammar, or displaying your opinion. So just know what you have to do, what you are lacking, then you would be able to improve everything.
It's not to mention that we do have access to multimedia channels these days. For example, the course.
For example, Disney Channel.
Yes, on movies, which is basically, it's very easily accessible and it's readily available almost anywhere. Of course, you still need help from others in order to point you into the right direction and do point out whether or not you're making an errors here and there, and do track your process. But it's very much doable, no? It's doable.
So in your opinion, what is the best way to learn English and IELTS in general?
Have someone to practice with.
Have someone to
Yes.
practice.
I had my sister when I grew up, and we basically spoke English together. We still only speak English together now. It's like a thing. I speak English with my partner. Most of my close friends, we speak English together. It's just a language we're more comfortable with. So have a partner to constantly practice and help you, and just, even though if you speak it in the incorrect way, it doesn't really matter. You're making progress anyway.
Welcome to IFO Challenge, and our guests are very, very ready right now with the paper, with the pen, and with the very first skill, listening. And they are actually IELTS teachers, so we really want to raise the level of difficulty. The audio will be played at 1.25 speed.
I really want to curse right now.
That is the very first time this thing happened in IFO Challenge, but it's a challenge, right? All right, are you ready?
Maybe.
Kinda?
Let's do it.
Let's do it right away.
Okay.
Here it is, the listening part.
Okay, now I'll briefly help you to orientate yourselves around the site. As you can see, we're in the reception area, which we try to make attractive and welcoming to visitors. There's a corridor running left from here, and if you go along that, the door facing you at the end is the entrance to the coffee room. This looks out onto the main road on one side and some trees on the other, and that'll be where you meet each morning. The factory is the very big room on the far side of the site. Next to it is the warehouse, which can be accessed by lorries going up the road to the turning area at the end. You can get to the warehouse by crossing to the far side of the courtyard, and then the door is on your right. Somewhere you'll be keen to find is the staff canteen. This is right next to reception. I can confidently say that the food's very good, but the view isn't. The windows on one side look onto a corridor and courtyard, which aren't very attractive at all, and on the other onto the access road, which isn't much better. You'll be using the meeting room quite often, and you'll find it by walking along the corridor to the left of the courtyard and continuing along it to the end. The meeting room is the last one on the right, and I'm afraid there's no natural daylight in the room. Then you'll need to know where some of the offices are. The Human Resources Department is at the front of this building. So you head to the left along the corridor from reception, and it's the second room you come to. It looks out onto the main road. And finally, the boardroom, where you'll be meeting sometimes. That has quite a pleasant view, as it looks out onto the trees. Go along the corridor past the courtyard, right to the end. The boardroom is on the left, next to the factory. OK, now, are there any questions before we move?
Wow. The speed is much faster than the speed that my crush replies to my text.
Much faster than the speed that my crush.
All right. Have you finished?
Yeah,
I guess. I think.
I actually have like one left that I didn't really. Yeah, I have one left. I have number 5 that I'm not really particularly certain.
If the real test is like this, I will be dead inside before I really even
Oh my
can
gosh,
I wouldn't be
end.
teaching.
We have like different answers. Okay. All right. I don't want to show mine. I'm scared.
Let's see if you guys have the same answers, but let's see if those answers are correct.
Okay.
Right, number 1, coffee room. Your answer is?
Mine is H.
3, 2,
My
1.
A is C.
H.
H or C?
H.
It's actually H.
Number 2, warehouse.
I think it's
3, 2,
I
1.
think it is
I think it's C.
C.
Yeah, it's C. No,
Okay.
it's like it's overlooking the access road.
Yeah, number 2.
It's like on the far right.
On the far right of the courtyard, I guess.
Yeah, it's on the far right of the courtyard, so
Yeah.
it's C, no?
Yeah.
At least that's what I caught.
I lost track from the beginning, so whatever you say, maybe you're right.
Yeah, it's just,
Number 3, staff canteen.
it's G.
G.
It's G.
It's
Bingo.
next to the reception, and it's open up to the access road, and it's also have a window to the courtyard.
Yeah.
At least that's what I try to remember.
But you remember it very clearly and correctly. How about the meeting room?
The
it's
meeting room
B.
is something that something I'm not so sure, because I just remember for it to be something of
Like
the right.
at the end of the
Yeah.
corridor, like
So
through
I
the
think it
corridor.
might be B.
I think it's B.
Okay.
Bingo, the human resources.
This is something I didn't get because it was too fast, so I couldn't get what room they were talking about.
The only
so
thing
I have no answer for this.
The only thing I listened that I heard was the second room on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it
that
was.
is
So it's I.
correct.
You're good.
So last one, boardroom.
It's A. It's obviously A.
I didn't really catch this one.
So you missed number 6, and I missed number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember on the boardroom they says that it has a lot of trees,
Yes.
and it's something that's very soothing. So
I was thinking like A or D, but I wasn't sure what is it.
it's A.
Yeah.
If the IELTS could maybe possibly accept the team, then you would be the best team.
That would be cheating.
That would be
That's
cheating.
impossible. But yeah, congratulations. You have done a really great job of listening IELTS. So are you guys ready for the next part, which is reading?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
still kind of afraid because I have dyslexia. So.
But you can do it. I trust
Okay.
you. Next
Okay.
part, reading. 4 minutes starts now. Let's check. One, left is an word.
Arabic.
B. Arabic,
Arabic.
I guess.
Correct. Question number 2. Encourages everyone to themselves.
Believe in
The same answer.
themselves.
Believe in themselves.
And that is the
Wow.
message for you as well. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Right. Number 3. Where ideas and
creativity. B.
Creativity. Yeah.
creativity. The next one would be marketing.
And
Okay, you have to help me with this one. I can't even really look at. I think it's the communication.
Yeah,
question.
it's
okay.
communication. But B is but A has an S at the
Okay.
end, and it indicates a study.
The study,
Yeah.
the field, the industry,
Yeah.
and communication is just how you communicate, but in a now, right? And the final question, the final answer is delighted to.
Unveil.
Unveil.
That's amazing!
Yay! We've successfully.
So that is
so
the
nice.
reading, and now we move to the writing. So the writing part 1 and part 2, which one do you prefer?
I would prefer part 2.
It's more important to spend public money on promoting a healthy lifestyle in order to prevent illness than to spend it
on the treatment of people who are already ill. So prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
Basically.
So because we have limited time, you don't have to write the full essay, definitely. You will give us some maybe key points and how you support your statements. So the main statement is important and then supporting ideas as well.
It's like a debate.
Yeah, it's like a speaking part 3.
I'm scared.
You can do it, let's do it. It seems like 4 minutes is a little bit too long for the guests because they're so talented. Right, the floor is yours now, thầy Đức.
So, I believe that prevention is a more effective and less costly method in terms of protecting the health, the well-being of people, because my first point is that there are illnesses that cannot be cured, terminal diseases or terminal illness. They can only be prevented. For example, a healthy lifestyle can reduce the risk of cancer, but when you are diagnosed with cancer already, there is little to none that you can do to actually cure yourself. And the second point that I made was about the cost of prevention and cure. So let's take example in the epidemic. If you are not careful in terms of protecting your own health, then it would put a financial burden on the government to deal with the consequences of your negligence.
Do you have the same point of view, chị Vân?
I actually do agree with you in terms of the agree part, because I actually wrote this essay in a different way. I spent the first paragraph saying that I do agree with this point, because it's not just about the cost, it's not just about the fact that there are some kind of health issues once you've got it, it's almost impossible for you to cure it. But also the fact that there are some illnesses, some health conditions that have so much complications that it's just extra challenging to deal with it, and even once you're cured, the aftermath is even more, like it's even worse. For example,
the side
COVID.
effect.
Yes, the side effects, the aftermath, so it's never truly finished when it comes to diseases, conditions, health issues. But the second part, I do spend time to talk about why I still believe that there should be some sort of a balance, because there are a lot of people who actually following this kind of lifestyle and diet because of their religion, because of the culture, because of what they believe in. So by promoting another kind of diet, even though it's good for them, it might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit too coerced to I still believe that
kind
it
of
is
infringes on their right.
Yeah, exactly. I do believe it's better to not try to force your belief and your anything to anyone. So a promotion is good, but at the same time, you can never be too certain about it. There's still some sort of things that are left that cannot be done, because again, it's their right to follow that kind of lifestyle. It's their right to be faithful to their religion and culture. And also some lifestyle, even though it's very healthy, it's also expensive. Yeah, so in a lot of countries, it is not yet, the resources and the conditions are not yet conducive for that thing, conducive to that thing, for that thing to happen. So I think it's still best to leave out some sort of counter argument so that people see that it's still very important to find a balance point, to find a middle ground.
Very strong arguments for both of you. We also have prepared a speaking part, but only one guest will take part in this exam, which is...
Really? Only me?
Yes, I don't have to do it. Yay!
All right, so you will now enter
this is reverse
the room.
section.
Enter the room and then complete a lot of questions from the experts, just like the IELTS speaking test, the real test. Are you ready?
I would have to be.
You have no other options.
Hello, Hoàng Đức. I'd like to ask you some questions. Did you enjoy traveling by car when you were a kid?
Actually, no, because when I was growing up, my family was in a financial strait. So my only experiences with car were from taxis, and that one time when my dad borrowed a car from his friend to take us to my hometown in Đông Anh province. It broke down halfway, so it was not a very nice experience for me.
Do you prefer to be a driver or a passenger?
I have never had the chance to drive a car, but I would suppose that between the two options, I would prefer to be the driver, because driving a car to me is some sort of an accomplishment. So I would be very proud of myself for having purchased a car and being able to drive it.
What do you usually do when there's a traffic jam?
Okay, so this is something that I often do, and it is against the law, so I wouldn't recommend anyone doing it. I usually listen to music when I am on the road, because I live very far away from my workplace, and it usually takes me around an hour of commuting on a daily basis. So I have to listen to something during that time of commuting, and especially when it is traffic jam, I would listen to music or ghost stories.
Now, I'd like you to talk about this topic. You have 1 minute to prepare. You may write some notes if you want to. I'd like you to describe an ambition that you haven't achieved. Can you start speaking now?
So, making ends meet is like the top priority for most people, and I am not an exception. There is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time but haven't been able to do, which was to control my finances. So the reason why I want to control my finances is because even though I am capable of earning myself a good income, it is my spending habits, and for some familial reasons, I cannot save them for my other purposes. The purposes I'm talking about is investment. The purposes are investments for my future, and as well as to provide my further studies in terms of financial aspect. And then there is the parts that I need to save in order to support my family. And what I did was that I opened 2 bank accounts, one of which for my daily expenses, and the other ones is for saving up for other purposes. So I was not capable of doing so, because every once in a while there would be a sudden expense that I couldn't really imagine coming, and it really took a toll on my financial stability. So at the moment I felt quite disappointed, because for me it kind of says something about me, and I don't want it to happen, because what you say, you need to be able to do what you say. So in the future, I guess I would be more strict with my finances, like keeping a journal of my daily expenses, as well as imparting myself with new knowledge, so that I can be more financially wise.
You were talking about an ambition that you haven't achieved, and I'd like to ask you some questions related to this. What ambitions do children usually have?
I suppose that children don't really understand the word ambitions, and when they were young, they just like to have things that they like. For example, they might want to become doctors or engineer because their parents said that they are good jobs. Also, they can be engrossed in their own fantasy and want to become like superheroes or fictional characters.
Why are some people very ambitious at work?
I guess it has something to do with their personality, their characteristics. It
it happens to both men and women, but more predominantly at men, because at the two ends of the spectrum, there are men who want to devote their entire lives to their work, to their career. Men like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. So to them, nothing else matters other than to leave a legacy to the world. So maybe it's because their lives kind of depends on it.
Now it's time to study IELTS.
Congrats! I think you've done a great job. What do you think about his performance?
I think it's really good, especially in speaking part 2, because it's mostly the parts where students find to be the most challenging, and you've done pretty good job.
Would you love to take the test one more time?
Yes, definitely. I would want to experience that one more time.
So I would love to unveil to you a very brand new section of IELTS Face-Off, which is IELTS on the test side, in which we will sponsor you to enter the real test, have the real results.
How does it feel?
I feel very fortunate because I can use that money for different things now.
Maybe put
very generous.
That piano forte, maybe.
So in the future, you will meet our host Nhung, and you guys will together enter the room and have the real things happening there.
Good luck.
Good luck, you can do it. We had such a blast talking to these two cute, amazing guests, and also very fun time, you know, completing all of those IFO challenges. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you.
Having us. We're having such a blast.
We have had a great time.
Fun.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys for tuning in. This is IELTS Face-Off. This is ANH-TIእዮም NG and Khanh. Until next time, bye. Bye.
Hi, this is ANH-TIእዮም, and this is our expert, our special guest.
Hi.
There's going to be so much fun and a lot of useful information in this episode, so please stay tuned and watch us on VTV7 this Saturday, 9 p.m. See ya! Woo.